Hades 2 picks up after the events of the first game, but this time the story is not about escape, it's about war. Long before the events of either game, Kronos, the Titan of Time, was overthrown by his children, the Olympian gods, and cast down into Tartarus, the deep abyss within the underworld used as a dungeon of torment and suffering for the wicked, and as a prison for the Titans. Yet time cannot be contained forever, and Kronos eventually breaks free of his prison. Returning with ancient power and a desire to reclaim dominion, he launches a brutal assault on the underworld. Kronos overwhelms the house of Hades, his son and god king of the dead, seizes control of Tartarus, and imprisons Hades, his wife Persephone, the vegetation goddess, and their son Zagreus, the underworld prince. The once proud court of shades and the underworld sonic gods is scattered or enslaved. Cerberus, the monstrous three-headed dog that guards the gates of the underworld to prevent the dead from leaving, is driven mad by corruption, and loyal servants are forced into silence. The underworld becomes twisted by temporal machinery. Massive ticking constructs and golden mechanisms reshape its caverns. Souls are processed endlessly, as if existence itself has become a clock. Time fractures across its halls, looping corridors and resetting battles in a cruel imitation of eternity. Only 2 members of Hades' royal family escape. Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, rescues the newborn underworld princess Melinoe, Zagreus' younger sister, and flees to a hidden sanctuary known as the Crossroads deep within Erebus, an area between the underworld and the surface. There, at a nexus between realms where witches, spirits, and forgotten gods gather beyond Kronos' immediate sight, Hecate raises and trains Melinoe in secrecy. Unlike Zagreus, who grew up rebellious and curious, Melinoe is raised with singular purpose. She studies incantations, ancient Titan bloodlines, celestial alignments, and forbidden rites. She learns to harvest reagents from night-blooming flowers, to carve sigils into the earth, and to call upon lunar fire. Hecate tempers her compassion with discipline, instilling in her a strong desire for vengeance against Father Time with the mantra, "Death to Kronos." Years pass and Melinoe grows into a formidable witch warrior. She channels power through the Altar of Ashes, arranging arcana cards that reshape her strengths. She wields the Sister Blades for swift strikes, the Umbral Flames to bombard foes from afar, the Witch's Staff to channel focus sorcery, and other nocturnal arms bestowed by the goddess Nyx, embodiment of night, for this war via the Silver Pool, imbued with aspects tied to gods and heroes. When Melinoe's training is complete, she begins her descent into the corrupted underworld, not as a runaway princess, but as Kronos' executioner on the hunt. Melinoe fights through Erebus, where shadows whisper warnings, through Oceanus, where drowned spirits drift in frozen tides, and through the fields of morning, where lost warriors wander beneath an endless twilight. Eventually, she reaches Tartarus, now transformed into Kronos' throne of gears and stone. Along the way, she confronts guardians empowered by Titan magic, including towering constructs and fallen champions bound by time. Each victory brings her closer to the Titan, yet also reveals how deeply his power has rooted itself in reality. The Olympian gods answer Melinoe's call for aid by bestowing their boons upon her, gifting her with powerful abilities while she offers them tributes of celestial nectar and ambrosia. Her uncle Zeus, the thunder god, grants lightning-based abilities, cousin Apollo, the sun god, radiates solar clarity, and grandmother Demeter, the harvest goddess, brings forth winter to stall advancing hordes, with other gods and heroes lending both utilitarian and destructive powers. They no longer treat the conflict as sport. At the crossroads, Melinoe builds bonds that shape her resolve. Nemesis, the retribution goddess, challenges her strength, forcing her to confront her pride. Moros, the doom god, speaks gently of inevitable ends, yet hints that inevitability can be subverted. Odysseus, legendary hero, king of Ithaca, now a shade, provides mortal cunning, reminding her that even gods win wars through strategy, not just strength. Through incantations and rituals, she can create concoctions and alter the conditions of her journeys, invoking oaths that increase danger and fear in exchange for greater power, proving that she is willing to bend the rules of fate to achieve her goal. Eventually, Melinoe confronts Kronos within the heart of Tartarus. The battle is suffocating. He freezes her in moments of suspended time, rewinds his wounds, and summons echoes of past defeats. When she finally strikes him down, she obtains the rare material Zodiac Sand, fragments of the cosmic clock, but the victory feels hollow because he simply resets the hourglass. His laughter echoes as the timeline snaps back into place. No matter how many times she slays him, he returns, untouched by permanence. Just before he does after he's defeated each time, however, Melinoë is able to use the Mirror of Night, gifted by goddess Nyx to her brother Zagreus in previous events, to communicate with Zagreus across time, in the past within dreams, allowing the siblings to work together so Zagreus can obtain Hades' spear, Gigaros, in the past to provide Melinoë with it in the present. Meanwhile, Mount Olympus, home of the Olympian gods, trembles as Kronos' surface army marches upward. Led by Prometheus, the titan of foresight who Zeus punished for stealing and gifting fire to mankind, now burning with resentment for his ancient torment, and Typhon, the father of all monsters, whose gigantic monstrous form blots out the horizon, Kronos' forces besiege the heavens. The war spans both the depths and the skies, making Melinoë the crucial bridge between realms. Realizing that time itself must be unraveled, Melinoë turns her attention to Typhon, whose regenerative chaos mirrors Kronos' control. She first performs an incantation to unravel a fateful bond, which negates her bloodline's ancient life-draining curse placed on those born of the underworld by the Fates, the three goddesses who control the world's events via the threads of fate, allowing her to journey to the surface. She ascends to Mount Olympus, battling through war-torn celestial pathways and confronting Prometheus, whose flames scorch both Titan and God alike. Afterward, she faces Typhon, who towers like a living catastrophe, a fusion of storm, serpent, and shadow. Even after repeated defeats, he also reforms, leaving only his void lens eye remnant behind, before she completes her ascent, arrives at the palace of Zeus, where she's greeted by Zeus, his wife Hera the marriage goddess, and their son Apollo, among other Olympian gods. Melinoë eventually realizes she must perform an incantation, dubbed Disintegration of Monstrosity, to truly destroy Typhon, and does so by using Kronos' Zodiac Sand, Typhon's Void Lens, and Hades' Gigaros Spear as reagents. Venturing again to Olympus Summit, Melinoë defeats Typhon once more, this time delivering the finishing blow with Gigaros, which, coupled with the incantation, causes him to disintegrate, leaving behind materialized entropy, or crystallized disorder. With both Kronos' Zodiac Sand and Typhon's entropy as components, Hecate and Melinoë craft the Dissolution of Time, an incantation to finally undo Kronos. Melinoë again journeys into the depths of the underworld, through Tartarus to the House of Hades, where she battles and defeats Kronos once more, now performing the final strike with the enchanted Gigaros spear, before contacting Zagreus again and performing the incantation on his past version of Gigaros. Now armed with the enchanted Gigaros, Zagreus prepares to also strike down Kronos in the past himself, defeating him simultaneously across time, severing his anchor to repetition, ending him forever. As Melinoë and Zagreus discussed and agreed upon, however, Zagreus first attempts to reason with Kronos and convince him to choose an alternate path of mutual forgiveness, where he forgives his children for overthrowing and imprisoning him, and they forgive him in turn for his tyrannical rule which led them to those actions. Kronos agrees to this, creating an alternate timeline in the past, where he chose trust over tyranny and lived alongside Melinoë, Zagreus, Hades, and Persephone as a loving grandfather instead of as a bitter enemy. Though the actual events of the present time remain the same, this alternate timeline creates a second set of memories within the minds of Kronos and the Hades family, showing them all the better path that could have been taken. Faced with that possibility, Kronos breaks, not in body but in spirit. He recognizes that his obsession with control created the very rebellion of his children that he feared. Rather than perpetuating the cycle, he relinquishes it. He releases Hades, Persephone, and Zagreus from their imprisonment, restoring their freedom to them. The underworld begins to heal, its gears falling silent, its rivers flowing naturally once more as renovation and restoration efforts begin, and everyone decides to move forward together by choosing to focus on the positive alternate timeline memories, convincing the other gods to also give Kronos another chance to redeem himself. In the aftermath, Melinoë chooses not to remain in the restored luxury of the House of Hades. She returns to the home where she was raised and which she knows best, the crossroads beside Hecate, where she dedicates herself to repairing fractures left across timelines. Kronos, now remorseful, assists her in hunting lingering echoes of himself and Typhon in alternate realities, ensuring no splinter of his old ambition survives. After fulfilling many minor prophecies and forming deep bonds with several fated associates, the Fates, who were thought to be missing after Kronos cast them into an abyss during the war, finally reappear, claiming they weren't lost, but were just taking a break, and acknowledging that the cycle of overthrowing and revenge has finally been broken. They also declare their intention to loosen their grip on fate, allowing mortals and gods to shape their own destinies without constant manipulation. It signals the dawn of a golden age defined by choice rather than inevitability, including mortals not being ruled entirely by gods. The final revelation comes in a quiet moment at the crossroads after things have settled down a bit. Hecate reveals that she's actually an alternate timeline version of Melinoë from the original timeline where she was the only member of the Hades family to escape imprisonment by Kronos when he invaded. The family sent her, only a baby at the time, down the underworld's Cocytus River as a last resort, and she was forced to grow up alone and fend for herself, with only Selene, the moon goddess, watching over her. When she was old enough to understand, Selene told Hecate of Kronos and her family, which drove her to train with single-minded vengeance, becoming powerful enough on her own through self-teaching and discovery to finally confront Kronos. After using a multitude of curses to defeat him, she attempted to destroy him completely, but was instead cast back to the dawn of time. Stranded in the distant past, she changed her identity to minimize tampering with the Fates' designs and to allow her to ingratiate herself to Hades and Persephone, leading to a prominent place within their household as Persephone's handmaiden, so that this time she was entrusted with Melinoë's care when Kronos inevitably attacked instead of the river. She then proceeded to raise and train Melinoë secretly in the crossroads to succeed where she had failed, with the goal of truly eradicating Kronos this time, as she still harbors a deep hatred for him. Although Hecate was originally enraged by Melinoë's decision to spare him after all her hard work, over the years she has come to love Melinoë as a daughter and trusts in her judgment, and so commits to continue working toward accepting and making peace with the idea